Okay, so now, again, you should be doing this right alongside me. In the applet, you've done now 2 repetitions. Now we're going to change the number of repetitions to 198 so that we get a total of 200. Tells you to uncheck the animate option and press randomization again, or randomize, and now we're going to see a dot plot that covers all 200 repetitions. Okay, so your replications here, repetition, replication is the same idea. 198 for a total of 200. And what's showing in terms of the proportion male and proportion in group 1 and group 2 is the last randomization. And it asks us to state where this this graph is centered. But before we even get to that, let's notice the shape. It's pretty much bell-shaped. And it is centered based on the mean around 0. So what does it mean that the graph is centered at 0? That means that we tend to get an equal proportion of males in each group. Because if the proportion of males in each group is equal, that means the difference in proportions is 0. So note to self. The difference in proportion of males in each group equals 0 if there is the same proportion of men in each group. So if we had 8 out of 12 in group 1 and 8 out of 12 in group 2, then when we would subtract 8 out of 12 minus 8 out of 12, we'd get 0. So the fact that this distribution is centered at 0, and that is where the highest bar is, and the highest 3 bars are very close around 0, tells us that there tend to be an equal proportion of males in each group, or slightly different proportion, but not a lot different. Okay, so back to question 8. The values are centered at 0. There tends to be an equal proportion of males in each group. Now, number 9 asks a different question. Does random assignment always equally distribute? No. The difference in group proportion of males, group 1 minus group 2, is not always 0, but 0 and plus and minus 0.167 are by far the most common differences. So remember in number 6, there were 7 males in one group and 9 in the other. That's the closest they could be if they're not equal. If it's not 8 and 8, 8 men in each group, then the next closest thing is 7 in one group and 9 in the other, which is what gives these plus and minus 0.167 difference. And those 3 bars, the bar with a difference of 0, the bar with a difference of negative 0.167, and a bar with the difference of positive 0.167, those are the 3 by far the tallest bars that happen. So is there a tendency for there to be a similar proportion of men in both groups? Yes. And the explain, I'm sorry this is so messy, is that the 0 and the plus and minus 0.167 are the 3 tallest bars by far. So we have a definition on the left. We say that the study is balanced with respect to a possible confounding variable if the distribution of the variable is the same for each group in the study. In other words, difference in groups tends to be 0. Tends to be. In other words, 0 is the most common outcome. Outcomes close to 0 are also very common. The further away you get from 0, the bigger the difference in the groups, the less likely the shorter those bars are.